Jerome opened the bag to keep the boots in it. As he was about to close it, he was struck by a strange thought that had he kept the toothbrush or not. He says that he never remembers if he has packed the toothbrush or not. Jerome adds that while traveling, he always messes up with carrying his toothbrush. He has nightmares of not having packed it, wakes up in the sweat and looks for it. In the morning, he packs it before using it, then unpacks the bag to get the brush and uses it. As it is the last thing that comes out of the bag and he has repacked the bag, he forgets packing it again. At the last moment, he rushes to his room to get the brush and finally he wraps it in his handkerchief and carries it to the railway station in his hand. As Jerome was looking for his toothbrush in his bag, he had to remove everything but he could not find it. He created a mess. He found his friend's brushes many times but could not find his own brush. He kept everything back into the bag one by one, shaking each item and finally found the brush inside a boot. Then once again he repacked the bag. Now, when Jerome closed the bag, George asked if the soap was there inside it. As Jerome was impatient, he replied that he wasn't concerned if it was there or not, closed the lid and strapped the bag. Then he realized that he had packed his spectacles in it too and had to open it again to get them. Finally, the bag was closed at 10:05 p.m. Then they had to pack the food baskets. Harris said that as they were left with less than 12 hours to leave, they would pack the baskets as well. Harris decided that food baskets would be packed by him and George. Jerome agreed to take his turn for some rest while his friends packed the baskets. And then it was George's turn and he trod on the butter. I didn't say anything, but I came over and sat on the edge of the table and watched them. It irritated them more than anything I could have said. I felt that. It made them nervous and excited, and they stepped on things and put things behind them, and then couldn't find them when they wanted them, and they packed the pies at the bottom and put heavy things on top and smashed the pies in. They upset salt over everything. And as for the butter, I never saw two men do more with 1 and 2 pence worth of butter in my whole life than they did. After George had got it off his slipper, they tried to put it in the kettle. It wouldn't go in, and what was in wouldn't come out. They did scrape it out at last and put it down on the chair, and Harris sat on it and it stuck to him, and they went looking for it all over the room. I will take my oath. I put it down on that chair, said George, staring at the empty seat. I saw you do it myself not a minute ago, said Harris. Then they started round the room again looking for it, and then they met again in the center and stared at one another. Most extraordinary thing I ever heard of, said George. So mysterious, said Harris. Then George got found at the back of Harris and saw it. Why, here it is all the time, he exclaimed indignantly. Where? Cried Harris, spinning around. Stand still, can't you? Roared George, flying after him. And they got it off and packed it in the teapot. Montmorency was in it all. Of course, Montmorency's ambition in life is to get in the way and be sworn at. If he can squirm in anywhere where he particularly is not wanted and be a perfect nuisance and make people mad and have things thrown at his head, then he feels his day has not been wasted. To get somebody to stumble over him and curse him steadily for an hour is his highest aim and object, and when he has succeeded in accomplishing this, his conceit becomes quite unbearable. George and Harris started packing the hampers in a happy mood. They wanted to show Jerome that they could pack well. Jerome waited for them to create a mess because he considered Harris to be the worst packer in the world. Jerome looked at the piles of plates, cups, kettles and bottles, the jars, pies, cakes and tomatoes which had to be packed into the hampers. He thought that as the boys would mess up, it would be an interesting thing to watch. The scene became interesting as they broke a cup at the start. Jerome says that they broke the cup to indicate that they could do that too and to make things interesting. Harris placed a jar of strawberry jam on top of the tomatoes. The tomatoes were squeezed by the jar and then they removed the damaged tomato with the help of a spoon. Next, George stepped on the butter. Jerome remained silent but sat on the edge of the table to watch the action. His silence irritated his friends. They became nervous and stepped on the things. They kept the things behind them and later, when they wanted them, they could not find them. They placed the pies on the bottom and kept heavier things on them, which smashed the pies. The boys overturned the can of salt on everything. Jerome says that they created a lot of confusion with a small piece of butter. He had not seen anyone create so much mess with butter that was worth 1 and 2 pence, as they did. George removed it from his slipper and tried to put it into the kettle. As he was unable to do that, he placed it on a chair. Harry sat on it, the butter stuck to it. He stood up and both the boys went around the room looking for the piece of butter. George looked intently at the empty seat on which he had placed the butter a few minutes ago. He took an oath of truthfulness that he had placed it there not even a minute ago. He came and sat down on things just when they were wanted to be packed, and he labored under the fixed belief that whenever Harris or George reached out their hand for anything, it was his cold, damp nose that they wanted. He put his leg into the jam and he worried the teaspoons, and he pretended that the lemons were rats and got into the hamper and killed 3 of them before Harris could land him with the frying pan. Harris said, "I encouraged him. I didn't encourage him. A dog like that doesn't want any encouragement. It's a natural, original sin that is born in him that makes him do things like that." The packing was done at 12:50 and Harris sat on the big hamper and said he hoped nothing would be found broken. George said that if anything was broken, it was broken, which reflection seemed to comfort him. He also said he was ready for bed. We were all ready for bed. Harris was to sleep with us that night and he went upstairs. We tossed for beds and Harris had to sleep with me. He said, "Do you prefer the inside or the outside, Jerome?" I said I generally prefer to sleep inside a bed. Harris said it was odd. George said, "What time shall I wake you fellows?" Harris said 7. I said no, 6, because I wanted to write some letters. Harris and I had a bit of row over it, but at last split the difference and said 6:30. "Wake us at 6:30, George," we said. George made no answer and we found on going over that he had been asleep for some time, so we placed the bath where he could tumble into it on getting out in the morning and went to bed ourselves. Once again, they searched in the room. They met in the middle of the room empty-handed. George said that the disappearance of the butter was the most amazing thing that he had known. Harris said that the disappearance of the butter was a mystery. George saw the butter sticking to Harris' back and said that it had been there all this while. Harris turned around and asked where it was. George flew to Harris' back and asked him to stand still. They removed the butter and packed it inside the teapot. George's pet dog, Montmorency, participated in all this. His aim was to interrupt everyone and then get scolded for it. Jerome adds that if Montmorency was able to twist into a place and create nuisance by angering people and get things thrown at him, in return, he felt that he had utilized the day in a good way. Montmorency's aim was to get people trip over him and scold him. By doing this, he felt that he had fulfilled his aim and would feel proud of his achievement. Montmorency sat on the things to be packed. He thought that when George and Harris reached out for the things to be packed, they were reaching out for his cold, wet nose and would bring forward for them. He stepped into the jam bottle. He shook the teaspoons. He acted as if the lemons were rats and stepped into the hamper to kill these rats. He was stopped by Harris, who hit him with a frying pan. Harris blamed Jerome for encouraging Montmorency for doing all his mischief. Jerome said that a dog like Montmorency did not need encouragement. It was born to be like that and act like that. At 12:50, they had packed the hampers. Harris sat on it and said that, hopefully, nothing would break in it. George was indifferent and said that if something broke, it would not matter. As they were ready for bed, they went upstairs to sleep. As they settled in their beds, Harris asked Jerome if he preferred the inside or the outside of the bed. Jerome said that he preferred to sleep on the inside of the bed. This seemed strange to Harris. George asked them that he would wake them up at what time. Harris replied 7, while Jerome wanted to wake up at 6, as he had to write some letters. Harris and Jerome had a discussion on the time, and finally they settled on 6:30, each accommodating his time by half an hour. George did not respond as he was asleep. Harris and George made mischief by placing the bathtub next to George's bed so that he would fall into out as he woke up on the pretext that this way he would take a bath as soon as he got up.